There comes a point when someone's presence starts to feel heavier than their absence, and yet you keep them in your life. The Stoics saw this as one of the greatest dangers to a man's mind, allowing toxic people to drain your peace while you convince yourself it's normal. But what if you could detach without guilt? In the next few minutes, you'll discover the timeless Stoic steps to remove negative people from your life while protecting your energy, your focus, and your future. Step 1. Step away to see clearly. The first Stoic step to detaching from negative people is deceptively simple. Step back, not in anger, not in weakness, but in deliberate, disciplined silence. Seneca wrote, "Retire into yourself as much as you can." To him, this was not a call to isolate, but a call to regain mastery over the mind. When you're standing in the middle of someone's chaos, you lose the ability to tell what belongs to you and what's been planted there by them. Imagine this: you're standing in a dense fog. The outlines of things are blurred. You reach for something, but your hand finds nothing. That's what emotional entanglement with toxic people feels like. A fog that steals your vision. Now, imagine taking 10 steps back. The fog begins to thin. The air becomes lighter. You start to see the shape of things as they truly are. That is what Stoic withdrawal does. It peels away the distortion that constant exposure creates. The Stoics understood a hard truth. Environment shapes perception. If you remain too close to those who drain you, your perception becomes warped, and over time, you stop trusting your own judgment. Distance breaks the cycle. It lets the noise settle, the storm quiet, the fog clear. So when you decide what to do next, you're deciding as the man you truly are, not as the man their presence has made you. This isn't about abandonment. It's about choosing clarity over contamination. It's about pressing the pause button on their influence so you can hear the only voice that matters, your own. Step 2. Judge the relationship without emotion. When the storm quiets and the fog begins to lift, you reach the second Stoic step, judgment without attachment. This is where most people fail. They try to judge a relationship while still standing in the middle of it, emotions clinging to them like wet clothes. The Stoics knew this was impossible. Feelings distort the truth. They pull you toward what is comfortable, even if it is killing you slowly. Epictetus reminded his students that our highest power is prohairesis, the ability to choose how we respond. But that power is useless if we cannot see clearly. And clarity comes only when the heart is quiet. Here's a question you must ask yourself with absolute honesty. Does this person help me become a better man? Or do they pull me further from who I want to be? Imagine your life as a fortress. Your mind is the command room. Your values are the walls, and the people you let close are either soldiers who guard it or traitors who open the gates. At first, traitors may smile. They may bring gifts, but over time, their presence weakens your defenses. The Stoics warned that this erosion often happens silently until one day you realize your fortress has been overrun. They called this awareness oikiosis, the recognition of what is truly fitting for your nature. Anything or anyone that strengthens your courage, wisdom, justice, or temperance is aligned with your nature. Anything that feeds envy, fear, weakness, or dishonor is an intruder in your life. This step demands a surgical precision of thought. You strip away nostalgia, loyalty born of a habit, and guilt disguised as love. You see the relationship for what it truly is, not for what you wish it was. If they lift you, if they challenge you toward virtue, if their presence makes your mind sharper and your soul steadier, they are worth keeping close. If they drain you, if they normalize mediocrity, if they keep you small so they can feel bigger, you must begin the process of letting go. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." But the people you walk beside will shape those thoughts. Walk with the wise, and wisdom stains you. Walk with the corrupt, and corruption becomes your shade. This is not cruelty. This is self-preservation. Because in the Stoic view, your first duty is to guard the integrity of your own soul. Everything else flows from that. Step 3. Call upon a trusted ally. Even the strongest walls cannot stand forever without reinforcement. The Stoics knew this, and they knew that even the most disciplined mind can bend under enough weight. That's why the third step to detaching from negative people is to bring another mind into the fight. But not just any mind. Seneca called it the philosophical friend, a companion whose presence sharpens you, whose counsel lifts you, and whose honesty cuts through illusion. This is not a drinking buddy, not a casual acquaintance, and not someone who simply agrees with you. This is a man or woman whose very way of living pulls you toward virtue. In the ancient world, the Stoics often formed small circles where truth could be spoken without fear. These were not places for flattery. They were places for clarity. Today, your circle may be just one person, but that person must be chosen with precision. Think of this ally as your mirror and your shield. The mirror reflects the reality you might not want to see, the truth about the relationship you're questioning, the blind spots you've been avoiding. The shield absorbs the blows when doubt and guilt come rushing in. Without this step, it's too easy to slip back into old patterns. The negative person will sense your withdrawal. They may push harder, manipulate deeper, or appeal to your emotions. Alone, you might waver. But with a trusted ally, you stand firm. Epictetus taught that we must walk with those who are likely to improve us. He said, "If you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid with regard to external things." A true ally will remind you that your peace, your growth, and your virtue are worth far more than the approval of someone who diminishes you. Choose this person carefully, not for how long you've known them, but for the quality of their character. They must have the courage to tell you what you don't want to hear, and the strength to stand with you when the pressure comes. Because once you begin detaching, the battle is no longer just about them. It's about you. And no warrior goes into battle without someone guarding their flank. Step 4. Set limits on your emotions. The Stoics never told you to stop feeling. They told you to stop being ruled by what you feel. This is the 4th step, establishing clear boundaries for your emotions so they serve you instead of enslaving you. Epictetus warned, "We have the power to suspend the action of the passions." In other words, the surge of anger, the wave of guilt, the sting of rejection. These are forces you can allow to pass without letting them dictate your next move. Imagine your emotions as a river. Left unchecked, it can flood its banks, destroy everything in its path, and pull you under. But with channels and barriers, that same river becomes a source of life, power, and movement in the right direction. When you're detaching from negative people, they will try to keep you trapped in that flood. They will trigger you, provoke you, or pull at your sympathy, because they know that if they can stir your feelings, they can stop your escape. The Stoics understood that the enemy of clarity is emotional excess. This is why they practiced negative visualization, imagining loss, imagining hardship, not to invite misery, but to make sure they could face it without being broken. Your task is to decide, before you face them again, how much emotional energy you are willing to give. Will you allow anger to rise, then stop it before it blinds you? Will you acknowledge sadness, then place it where it cannot paralyze you? Will you feel guilt, but refuse to let it rewrite the truth of who they are? Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Setting limits on your emotions is that realization in action. You are telling yourself, I will feel, but I will not drown. I will allow the river to flow, but I will decide where it goes. And once you gain this control, you strip the negative person of their greatest weapon, your reaction. Step 5. Consider the consequences of distance. Before the Stoics acted, they reflected, not to stall, not to doubt, but to ensure that every move they made was guided by reason, not impulse. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." And one of the greatest wastes is cutting someone off without first understanding what that choice will set in motion. This is the 5th step, looking ahead with clear eyes, tracing the path before you take the first step. Picture yourself standing at a fork in the road. One path keeps the person in your life. The other leads you away from them. Each path disappears into the trees, but you can see just far enough to catch glimpses of what lies ahead. The Stoics call this foresight prosophe, a constant, deliberate attention to the present moment, combined with an awareness of where your actions will lead. Ask yourself, if I create this distance, what changes? Will I finally have the space to rebuild my focus? Will my energy return? Will I begin to breathe again without the weight of their presence? Or will there be losses, connections severed, responsibilities shifted, pain in places I didn't expect? You must be prepared for both, because the Stoics knew that virtue sometimes demands sacrifice, and that the price of freedom is often discomfort in the short term. This is why Marcus Aurelius trained himself to look not just at the pleasant surface of a choice, but at its hidden costs. He stripped away the comforting illusions, examined the bare truth, and then acted without hesitation. In your own life, this means accepting that detachment may come with moments of loneliness or the sting of being misunderstood. But if your reasoning is sound, if this step is aligned with your pursuit of courage, wisdom, justice, and self-control, then those costs are not losses. They are the toll you pay to walk the higher road. The man who refuses to think ahead stumbles blindly. The man who sees the road clearly walks it with steady steps, no matter where it leads. Step 6. Disconnect from their digital shadow. In the ancient world, the Stoics warned about the danger of constant exposure to corrupt voices. They lived without screens, but they still understood how outside noise could erode a man's inner peace. Today, that noise follows us everywhere. Even after you've stepped back in the physical world, Their presence lingers in the digital one. A post, a photo, a story meant to provoke, a message timed to pull you back in. This is why the sixth step is digital detachment, cutting the invisible strings that social media wraps around your mind. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." In his time, the distractions were public games, gossip in the marketplace, endless chatter in the streets. In ours, it is the scroll, a glowing stream of images and updates that keep the wound fresh and the mind restless. Think of social media as a constant echo chamber. Every interaction, every glimpse, every reminder of them is an echo that keeps you tied to the very person you're trying to escape. The Stoics would see this as surrendering your attention, the most valuable possession you have, to something unworthy of it. Detachment demands control over your inputs. If you allow them to appear in your feed, in your notifications, in the spaces where your mind goes to rest, you are letting the enemy into your fortress through an open gate. Digital disconnection is not weakness. It is a declaration. You no longer have the right to occupy my thoughts. This could mean unfollowing, muting, blocking, whatever removes their shadow from your daily life. The goal is not revenge. The goal is freedom. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "The things you think about determine the quality of your mind." And what you see daily determines what you think about. If their face, their words, or their provocations are still in front of you, your mind cannot heal. Closing that digital door may feel final. And that's the point. Because the moment you do, the echo begins to fade. And in the silence that follows, your own voice grows stronger. Step 7. Focus on what you truly need. Detachment is not just about removing what's harmful. It is about creating the space to nurture what is essential. The Stoics taught that freedom is not found in having everything, but in needing very little, and making sure that what you do need serves the growth of your soul. Epictetus, who rose from slavery to become one of history's greatest philosophers, said, "Happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one principle. Some things are within our control, and some things are not." Negative people live in the realm of what you cannot control. Your needs, however, live entirely in your own hands. Imagine life as a great table set with endless dishes. Some are rich with nourishment, others are poisoned, and many are simply empty, attractive on the surface, but offering nothing of substance. Detachment is the act of pushing away every dish that does not feed your mind, your body, or your spirit. What remains is your true diet, the relationships that strengthen you, the work that fulfills you, the habits that bring you closer to the man you are meant to become. The Stoics called the highest goal eudaimonia, a life of flourishing, lived in accordance with virtue. This means asking yourself every single day, does this align with wisdom, with courage, with justice, with self-control? If the answer is no, it does not belong on your plate. When you focus on what you truly need, you stop chasing approval. You stop clinging to the familiar out of fear. You no longer keep people in your life simply because they have been there a long time. Instead, you measure everything and everyone by the standard of your values. This is the moment where detachment becomes liberation, because you're not just stepping away from someone, you're stepping toward yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Fill your life with what is worthy, and over time, you become the very thing you admire. Detachment, then, is not an ending. It is the clearing of the ground where a stronger, calmer, wiser man will stand. So here's the question that remains. Now that the noise is gone, what will you build in the silence? You've stepped away from the storm. You've judged a relationship with clarity. You've brought in an ally, set limits on your emotions, looked ahead with foresight, cut the digital strings, and chosen what you truly need. But detachment is not the final victory. It's the moment the real work begins. The rebuilding of a life that is lighter, stronger, and untouchable by the people who once had the power to shake you. The Stoics didn't see this as isolation. They saw it as alignment, the act of arranging your life so that every person, every choice, every habit moves you toward virtue. The man who masters detachment does not live in bitterness toward those he left behind. He lives in gratitude for the space they once filled, because now it is filled with something greater. And if you've taken these steps, you already know that space was always yours to claim. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to our channel for more Stoic wisdom. See you in the next video.